I'll drop the record in here. I'll get the encoder going and kick your intro.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Retro Detroit Nerdfighters podcast. My name is Ian the Well-Informed, and I'm here with Phil the Philibadger.
And probably the hottest take that I can come up with right now is I would play a game, a new Uncharted Lost Legacy style game with Abby before I'd be interested in another Last of Us game starring Ellie.
Who is Abby?
She was a very extremely controversial character whose narrative was about a good third of The Last of Us Part 2.
All right.
And who is the target of Ellie's revenge, and is who she's chasing with for pretty much the entire game.
I would assume that she was being chased by the Origami King.
I waited until I finished the Last of Us before I started on Origami King, just so I wouldn't get those two narratives confused.
That makes sense.
That could be a big mess.
Yes, a lot of paper cuts, of course.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have a serious question. Whatever we on this podcast, if we get the only time that like we give a false narrative is if we get something wrong, or if we're saying things just to be funny, just to be sarcastic, correct?
Correct, yeah. We don't intentionally try to mislead folks.
Yeah, so with that being said, did you hear that we found a cure for coronavirus?
Is it the Corona beer?
No, not at all. This guy named Philip Mewson started came back from the dead and started playing Dead Cells again.
Did he copy his play from somebody else?
Actually, no. From what people have said, it's a his review is kind of a breath of fresh air.
Once a plagiarizer, always a plagiarizer, though. So
I get that. I mean, there have been a lot of backlash to him putting out videos, and especially from his old boss from IGN.
mm-hmm.
It's said to find a different field of find a different line of work. Things like that.
Yeah, I think I saw something about that.
But I'm like, with being a plagiarist, I just wanted to ask the question, what type of job can he get now?
I'm sure he could do a job that involves physical labor, something that, something where he's not, doing something that's creative for public consumption. Or, he could maybe do tech support.
But then he has to get it right. But then he has to get it right the first time, and he'll just.
But if you work tech support, though, you're kind of expected to use Google and get ideas from others. So
that makes sense.
Maybe that's a job where being a plagiarizer could be a benefit.
That's one. I mean, my suggestion was basically then don't take this seriously. Maybe being a getting into politics. I don't know.
Who knows? Everything's on fire right now. That's all I know.
Yeah. And it's not good for your background either, but
No.
but
It's just a little paper mache Goomba behind me, so.
yeah. But yeah, just I found yeah, I just found that to be quite funny. People said that he did a good review, but that he needs to go find another line of work.
hmm I just want to know who he stole this good review from.
The world will never know.
Well,
Not to steal from
ideally, the
Tootsie
world will
Pop.
never know. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah, he's being, should I say, kind of disrespectful. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, have you heard any news about Dr. Disrespect? Just a smooth
Uh,
transition.
I don't know what to believe on that anymore. Um, I've heard everything from harassment issues to actual criminal issues to he was looking to hop somewhere else, so Twitch just made up a reason to fire him and end his contract. So who knows?
He was in negotiations to make a new contract because of all the money he's made, and so then they banned him for some reason and never gave an explanation why.
hmm
And
and the last thing I think I heard about a week ago is he might sue Twitch over this whole situation. So I have no idea what's real anymore.
I mean, that's in the context of things, that's not very likely. But I mean, he had to put that statement out just
hmm
because he's an entertainer. Uh, he's got to stay relevant. So,
Got to keep his
so
name in the headlines.
yeah, exactly. And so he'll either do something like YouTube or Facebook. Hopefully, YouTube and not Facebook, because that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole other dumpster fire, in my opinion. So
Yeah, but I don't know what to think of it yet.
I think until some solid news comes out, it's just kind of hard to know what to make of it.
Yeah, basically. Unlike uh, 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 Mr. Musin XDM, as I like to call him now. uh, no. Did you, in terms of game, did you hear about the new standard for Metacritic?
Um, is this the one where they're gonna lock down user reviews for until a game has been out for 36 hours?
Yes, exactly.
I'm surprised they didn't have a policy like that to begin with, in all honesty.
I
Because I I don't want to read a review from somebody who's played the game for only 5 minutes. And that's just a policy that leaves them vulnerable to, folks with access to grind on a particular game can tank a user review score. Um, not to say somebody who's mad now at a game will probably still be mad at it in 36 hours, but
the chances of someone posting it is not as likely right now because
Mhm.
it's like, oh, the hype about it has died down,
right.
possibly
I
within that
mean,
36 hours.
and obviously, and the catalyst for this, I think, was the review bombing that The Last of Us Part 2 sustained upon its release. Again, due to the controversial new character Abby, and folks, not liking how certain parts of the story played out, which I'm not going to spoil here because the game's still too new for me to want to spoil. Are you frozen there, Ian?
So it became less about, you know where I'm going with this joke.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
The first reviews,
Hmm.
the last of the first reviews.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good move going forward for a site that I never use. So.
I never use it either, so I just rely on my own experiences, my own take, my own opinions. I generally will read a review to make sure a game's not, broken on like a technical level. If a game performs like garbage, just strictly in terms of performance, that's what I check out a review for. But I don't go to game reviews, critical or user reviews for story information and stuff like that. That's my opinion. The tastes on those are way too subjective for me to get any sort of a feeling out of a review.
Yeah. Speaking of bugs within a game, I see that you have Paper Mario and the Origami King. Did you hear
Hmm.
about the game-breaking bug for that game?
I have not.
I just I forgot about it, and then because you put up that poster, remember that they found out about like I found out last night. So
Uh-oh.
there's a game-breaking bug for the game that you're playing right now.
Uh-oh. That's never fun to hear.
I'm looking it up. Um, hey, I'm looking up on Google right now. I'm pulling up for I'm pulling up a site called Polygon. I've never heard of it before. Um,
As opposed to Poly here, or
Poly
that
here,
was Polygon, who knows?
Polygoing. No,
And who's
it,
Poly
it
anyway?
says that it's near the end of the. It says that it's near the end of the game, and we probably have some friends who are poly, but that's a whole nother story.
Hmm.
We're gonna play wordplay now. uh, 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 but yeah, near the
Well,
end of the
I
game,
don't.
there's a
At least I hope I'm not near the end of the game. So hopefully that should be patched by the time it becomes a problem for me.
hopefully. Yeah. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, it says, um, have you ever have you gone into the Spring of Rainbows?
No, I've not even heard of that.
All right. When you get there, then they'll the bug will be there. So
Okay. Well, I'll just have to watch myself if there's not a patch that comes before.
yeah. So yeah, I will send the link and actually put that link in the description when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what happens when you. I feel like they kind of rushed the game a little bit, kind of like Skyward Sword a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
because that game had a game crashing bug too.
Oh. Yeah, I never actually played Skyward Sword, so.
I wouldn't say that it's with Skyward Sword. I wouldn't say it's the best Zelda game there is. It
Mm,
isn't, but it is, in my opinion, worth playing at least once.
okay. I know I've tried to look for it a couple of times. I've just not had a lot of luck, so. Yeah, I can't find it at a price that's not inflated, so.
Um, yeah, just like the just like Skyward Sword, the price is inflated and
Mm-hmm.
the price goes skyward, basically. So
Right, exactly.
yeah, uh, you know. So there is you mind telling us what type of game The Last of Us is for the people who don't know?
Um, for those who don't know, The Last of Us is well, the first game came out in 2013. Kind of the end of the PlayStation 3 generation was kind of regarded as the big send off for that platform. But basically, it is about a pandemic that kind of ends society. Um, I can't imagine what anything like that would be like to live through right now. So, but anyway, this pandemic in The Last of Us takes the form of a fungal infection that is able to take a human host and convert it for its own uses, and drives the infected mad and turns them into face-eating zombies. And The Last of Us is basically how does humanity adapt after that. The first story is the story of Joel and Ellie, a girl who is supposedly immune to this zombie infection, and Joel is tasked with getting her to a group called the Fireflies so that they can figure out why she's immune and make a cure. Um, Things don't exactly go as planned, and that's all I'm going to say on that, just in case somebody still wants to not be spoiled on the first game, which and the results of that game lead to Last of Us Part 2.
Makes sense. Uh,
Which continues the story of Ellie and Joel and introduces us to Abby. And you'll see, and then once you get there, you'll see the part she plays and how everything plays out.
Fair. Uh, um,
It is a very, you know, it can be a brutal game at times. There's a lot of focus on stealth combat, both against infected the infected, and also some of the human survivors who have, gone, who are become kind of tribal and regard Joel and Ellie as as trespassers, basically, who aren't supposed to be there, and they're when they're just trying to survive and get to where they need to go.
Yeah, but none of you would agree with me that none of the zombies are fun guys, right?
No, they're not
No.
fun at all.
No.
Even though they are fun guy zombies, they're not fun.
I'm sorry. I know that was bad.
It was waiting right there, though.
It was. Let's see. But no Mucinex Dion, right?
Nope.
No Mucinex. All right. Just making sure. Let's see. There's, speaking of info and I guess like pandemic wise or things like that. I've been seeing a lot of posts and things like that on the internet saying that this CDC has been very corrupt. As someone with autism, I kind of I understand a little bit better how I feel like I have more information on that subject. But Bill, what do you think of them as a company?
About the CDC being corrupt? Well, I haven't seen the context of how those posts. I don't think I've seen them. I try to actually avoid that kind of stuff because it sounds like conspiracy theory nonsense.
It's
But
with CDC is actually a bit more complicated than it seems. And I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm being very clear about this. What people don't understand is that what a lot of people I feel don't understand is that the CDC is supposed to act like a nonprofit in that regard, because
even though it is a government agency,
and their job is to pull in information from because they're a hub. They're a hub for information, basically. They're a data warehouse. And so they write reports that say, for instance, 1 in 59 children has autism. But what people feel is corrupt is, like within that example, 1 in 59 children has autism. They believe that that it's significantly less than that. Like it's more like 1 in 80 or 1 in 100. And to be clear, they're right. The conspiracy theories are right. They are telling the truth, but not the whole truth. Like say, like if I have this cousin who acts like me, talks like me, things like that. If we went into a room and we talked to a random stranger and we asked that stranger which one of us has autism, there's a good chance that my cousin would be picked. So, so it's just like that. Like CDC does a lot of a lot of logistics in their detailed data because people can get that money and make a mistake off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they account for that. And so for the most part, like doctors and things like that will, like with this pandemic, will get that information right. They'll, for the most part, have like they'll be 95% right, depending on how fast they can get that information, which is not fast at all.
Mm-hmm.
How much how fast they can process that information, which is not at all, because it's a new virus, so the paperwork is even more, and
Mm-hmm.
then things like that. So give this some time, and what's it called? The information will be more accurate because the data is based on how many the data itself is based on projection and not on the actual information. They are, from what I can see, doing their job. And, and there may be some corruption that we don't see, but
I
for
mean,
the most part,
any large government bureaucracy is prone to corruption. To have some corruption in it, but I don't believe the organization as a whole is corrupt.
no, I don't believe that either. Uh, I mean, all the money they get is from the government. So,
Mm-hmm.
so if they're being highly corrupt, then it's more of a top-down problem. It's more of a
Mm-hmm.
government issue than it is them.
Right.
But I've said just a tad too much on that, I feel. uh,
You're on a watch list now, Ian.
yeah. Watch out.
Yes.
Um, but no, speaking of not having all the information, I, all right, I'm in focus again. Yay. Hold on.
Yay.
And yay. And the light helps, I think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, speaking of not having the whole picture, um, let's talk a little bit about Facebook, if you don't mind.
What exactly do you want to talk about there?
I just have, and I want, I just want a yes or no answer. Does it seem like Facebook is leading us in a direction? A they said that they're not going to be an arbiter of truth, but it feels like they're leading us down a path with the information, with information that's being presented on the platform.
I think I don't know that it's necessarily Facebook's doing of this, um, but I think the expression "a lie can get around the world" in the time that it takes the truth to get out of bed and put its shoes on. So I think that's kind of the effect that Facebook has. It's just takes that same expression and turns it up to the nth degree.
No,
And I'm sure there are things that Facebook can do about that, but I don't know what they are.
I mean, like I had been because I kind of an essential worker now. I want to see like the data behind how people are getting infected, and I use many different platforms, but Facebook seems to try to, unlike the other ones like YouTube or no, just YouTube, seems to just this kind of kept me from seeing information about that versus like the YouTube platform, or and I don't and they say that they're not an arbiter of truth, but from my perspective it seems more like they want to lead me
But if
down a
you know,
path.
but if they're, yeah, well, and I think by choosing to not, to not make a determination of what truth is, they allow what is the loudest and being trumpeted by the most to kind of have that effect of the lie that gets around the world before the truth puts its shoes on. I think intentionally or not doesn't really matter. That's the effect that's happening. you know and there are a certain amount of people who want to believe the lie, just because it's comforting to them for whatever reason. Truth has a habit of being uncomfortable for certain people, and I think that's something that Facebook needs to reckon with.
Just
Because the world can be a harsh place, and truth is uncomfortable, but I think truth ultimately sets us free. I believe in that greatly.
yeah, I don't know, but I don't know what. Hey, I don't have the answer about what they should do, but it does seem
Hmm.
like um, I would say for Facebook to be the lesser of the two, and to be a little bit of an arbiter, and because that's the lesser of the two evils right now.
Hmm.
But
Definitely. I think they can do more, of you know getting the truth out there. um Folks will believe what they want to believe, but you know Facebook doesn't need to be a silent part of the conspiracy, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean they have some of my friends' posts have been taken down, and they say this post has been privated because not all the information is true. It's been reviewed by um, independent review board or things along those lines.
Hmm.
So they are putting measures to make sure that the information
But
is
how many?
correct.
But how many? Yeah, but how many folks saw that post before it was turned private? That's what I'd want to know, because those folks are still impacted by the mistruth that went out there.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like, as you see my Facebook, I haven't posted. I've tried to be considerably more private now, given
Hmm.
if I post something, I want to know if that information is right.
Hmm.
So I
And
basically offer.
I mostly just consume content now. I don't. I maybe made like 5 posts in the last 4 years. So, and a lot of those have to do with what movie I was seeing at that time. So
I guess.
now that we're not going to movie theaters anymore.
Few of my friends have been posting this meme about Dr. Fauci saying that he's sitting next to two people on opening day, and people are saying he's not practicing what he preaches.
I haven't seen that, so I can't comment on it.
From what I've gathered, some people have said that those two people are his family members. So,
And if
I mean,
they're in his family, he would need to distance himself from them.
So I'm just like, this is a non-issue. This is only this is just publicity stunt. This is that. So I don't care about it. I just giving an example.
Right.
For the most part, I don't want to give people more credit than what they actually deserve. But yeah, so do you ever watch politics channels on YouTube?
Not really. The closest I come to that is I'll watch the MSNBC clips from MSNBC that happen to be up on YouTube, but nothing really that originates from YouTube. Most of that just feels like a dumpster fire.
It very much is. A lot of the news media that comes from YouTube has a consistency of being very inconsistent. And there are very few news channels on the platform that don't last.
Yeah, it's very easy to find whatever echo chamber you want to put yourself into, and certainly, I'm not going to say that I haven't done that as well, but yeah, it's very easy to find news and information that lines up with your beliefs instead of conforming the truth to your beliefs instead of the other way around.
Yeah. I try. I mean, with any like YouTube channel or any what's it called? I can't think of it, like YouTube channel or even TV show that talks about the news. I base it off
I like clips that dunk on politicians I disagree with as much as anybody, but that's not really news.
What I do, like from like a macro level, is I take, or micro level, I mean, is take the news that based off what I know, and if I don't know about a certain topic, then I don't talk about it like I'm an expert at it. Because then I'm laying down assumptions. Like I will say here that most of what I say on this show, I pull from a few places, like Review Tech USA. They're pretty good. Jim Sterling and Philip DeFranco. And so that's where I get most of my information about for this show. And then I do my I make sure not to plagiarize and if I get something wrong,
I mean,
then
if
I
we
change it.
do happen to get something wrong, I think it's good to be definitely upfront about it.
Yeah, and next episode that comes up, I'll make a correction, or I'll look to see if I can edit the video or the social media, things along those lines. But no, there's been there's been some people who have kind of populated like my friends' posts and things like that, like that. I'd like to say I wouldn't recommend. I won't put out names, but I will say how they do their content, except for Timcast. We've already covered them. Like, so as you know, like with Timcast, I don't trust him as a platform to use the platform, because within the description of within the Vlog Brothers say the doobly-doo, within the drop down of the video, the thing below the video that you can say show more, they don't put their sources. They do put their sources, sorry. They don't put their links to how they get paid, whether they use Patreon, which in Timcast's case he doesn't, and then a few others that I've seen. I don't. If you don't know how they're making money, then they seem, in my opinion, a bit untrustworthy. Like, if you see an ad, you expect to see, like, if you see an ad on TV, you see brought to you by the Ad Council, or brought to you, or it shows a link, or it shows where to go that has that information. And you would agree, right?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, I mean, then, and obviously because, and to clarify, like within this podcast, we don't get paid for this. We are we're kind of doing this through the kindness of our hearts to make sure that, yeah. So, but then, there's one guy, I won't say who he is because I don't want to bring attention to him, but people who see him will know who he is. Has this YouTube channel that is named after a 23rd century BC dictator. And it's kind of, I know that's what's it called? They're not plagiarizing or anything, but that is it is it can be used for consumption, but then this content creator is using the name intentionally to get more publicity to his name.
Mm-hmm.
Information and content that would normally, if he say named himself something else, he wouldn't get as much attention. He's it's not him. He's not being should I say unique about it. Or
Mm-hmm.
he's not, he's yeah, he's getting more attention than he should.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm saying, because he named himself after someone who's already dead. It's like if I decided to, if I rename myself Elon Musk, I would I would get more attention than
You
I
would,
should.
and probably not all the good attention that you want.
Yeah. Or it be like um because he passed away, naming myself Gene Wilder. or or something like that. So I would get more attention. I'm taking the screen name of someone who's already dead and trying to profit off of their name,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Yeah. But then there are other artists like I won't say his name either, but there's this one creator who has decided to use his full name as the as his YouTube channel, and that's I would say that's a cardinal sin if
Yeah,
if it weren't.
generally, I wouldn't regard it as a not a good idea.
Generally on YouTube, generally on Twitter, that's not a good idea. Like, unless you have a really big
Unless you
audience.
have a pre-established public identity that you're looking to leverage.
Like the one big exception to that rule, in my opinion, is Jim Sterling
Mm-hmm.
or the Jimquisition, because he has the name, he has. I mean, that's the one person out of any platform that I would say he can use that however he wants,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, he has a team. He has people that can be behind him. And he has the other name if anything goes wrong. He has the second name. But there's this one conservative political person who, from the start, decided to use his full name, and that's never a good idea because you become a target, because
Mm-hmm.
people can find you on Facebook, people can find you on the Twitter, people can find. It's like on YouTube when I post, my name is Ian S.
Mm-hmm.
So I so that they don't know my full
Still,
name.
right? Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I don't want my my personal information to be unintentionally known by people because I put my because I put my full name out on there. That's kind of like putting my social security number on a bus
Mm-hmm.
and hitting record.
Uh-huh.
uh,
And challenging folks to steal his information with that information. Oh,
Not a good
those were the days. I think it only took like 9 days for him to get hacked after he put that out there.
It's not a good move. It's not a matter of if he got hacked. It was a matter of when. And then when it
Mm-hmm.
happened, how much afterwards. um, but no, and I know what you're probably thinking. Like, Philip DeFranco uses his real name, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't.
he doesn't use his real name. His first name is the real name, but DeFranco
Mm-hmm.
is not his last name
Mm-hmm.
because he
I
moved.
always presume made his last name something a little more marketable than what he actually has, and a little easier to remember.
Yeah, yeah. There was maybe like 3-4 years ago. He posted about saying that this is not his real name, and because like um, there was a whole controversy between him and his father, who um, because his father thought that he had um, registered his changed his name because he wanted to never be associated with his family again, and so um, he um, he felt that his son disowned him.
Mm.
but that wasn't at all the case.
Uh-huh.
And so in light of that, he actually, to prove that he loves his family, his father was dying of liver failure. And so he asked his audience to see if they could donate him a liver. And one of his
Mm-hmm.
people, one of his audience members did so. And so it's been a slow, what's it called? Learning issue. So,
Mm-hmm.
but no, uh, that's another one of my quote unquote commandments, if we can call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to
Right.
not
Uh-huh.
have um, not using your entire name. It's okay for me to say Ian or Ian the Well
Mm-hmm.
Informed or um, what else? Or Dave to be Dave the Geek or things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But then there's like Markiplier, who does say his full name on stream, Mark Fishbach. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
I'll never remember that name or I can't guess how to spell it, so yeah, I think a name like Markiplier is definitely easier to remember and easier to search for.
yeah, and it won't give any proprietary information or any
Mm-hmm.
it won't give any information like credit card or social security number or things like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's always good to have like a fake name or not show the
Uh-huh.
whole thing. Um, let's see. There's Oh, and then there's one last one. There's one guy who I see his videos, but then I can never remember his name. I want to call him. I can't remember what it's so his YouTube name is so off the wall that I want to call him Mr. Riversticks because I will never remember his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never heard of him, so.
But he kind of, on the opposite end, making sure that you have a name that can be remembered is kind of important because, but all these people, all these YouTube channels that I'm talking about don't post where they get their money from, whether it be all of them what's it called, don't post that they have Patreons, and they all have Patreons. And so all of them seem kind of on a level like shady to me, but that's just me. But yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit more, but that's for another episode, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're got to start wrapping it up here.
I know. I kind of rambled on that. Sorry. Yeah, but where can we find you, Phil?
You can still find me in my basement, where I'll be until this pandemic is over, probably. Probably trying to chase down the Origami King for a little while. It's a nice palate cleanser after Last of Us Part 2. And then don't know where what I'm going to play after that. So.
Yeah.
And then where can we find you, Ian?
You can find me in a random room doing my best not to be disrespectful. Or because
or somewhere out in the world being an essential worker, right?
Yeah, basically. I think those two cross paths though. So doing my best not to be. But yeah, you can find me at informed.com, informed with an A. And as always, don't be disrespectful to others.
Wear a mask. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
And don't forget to be awesome.
And make the world suck less, please. Dave, are you here?
For the love of God, make the world suck less.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But yeah, thank you. Make the world suck less, and hopefully have a good day and days.